So again, good morning, everyone. Today we're doing the Medium's book. We start book tag in book 2, chapter 1 of book 2, the action of spirits upon matter. And just to go quickly back of what we read last week, or last month, I'm sorry. So basically, what you read so far is that we had finally killed materialism through reason to observation, not purely through blind faith. And we are now convinced of the existence of spirits. And we have concluded that spirits are souls. And again, the word souls is being loosely used now. The definition of souls in spirituals that are going to use ahead is still to come. We conclude then that spirits are souls that are living now in another dimension, that are living now without a physical body. And those spirits, they continue to be intelligent, they continue to have intelligence, they continue to have sentiments, to have feelings, to have senses. Another question that comes in this chapter, the new challenge for us now is, all right, so these things can be called spirits. They're intelligent, they have senses, they have feelings. Can they interact with matter? And reason would lead us to imagine that they should be able to do something. What would be the objective, the meaning, considering God to be absolutely intelligence and perfection, to have the spirits have intelligence, have feelings, have senses, and not being able to do anything, right? So common sense would lead us to believe that they should be able to do something. Now, there's something that they do can interact with this physical world that we live. That is the question. In order to accept the possibility of saying yes to this question, would have to consider that they would have to have some kind of a instrument or a body, if we prefer, that allows them to act upon matter, to have an interaction with the dense matter. If you forget by a minute that you are a spirit, that intelligence belongs to the spirit, and let's assume that we are purely body. Okay? We understand, we agree that the part of us that think, that make decisions, that commands, is the brain, right? I don't think anybody without that. The brain thinks, the brain desires, the brain imagines things. For a minute, let's forget about spirit. And let's assume that I wake up this morning, the brain, decide I want to go to the backyard and plant a tree. So I need to get up, out of bed, do whatever I have to do after I get up, go down the stairs, go outside, open the door, right? To go outside, dig a hole, and plant a tree. Now, the brain cannot do that. Brain can only think and desire. In order for me to get out of bed, to walk, go down the stairs, to open the door, to dig a hole and plant a tree, I'm gonna have to have legs, foot, arms, and hands, right? Okay, is that all we need? If you think very quickly, say yes. Oh, we got a brain thinking, we got arms, hands, legs, and foot to execute the desire of the brain. It's all good. But then we have to think. But in order to the brain to send this command to the hands, to the foot, to the legs, there gotta be an intermediary, right? There's gotta be something connect the intelligent thing to the being, to the thing that operates the desire of the brain. And then we come to the nervous system, right? There's very intricate, complex biochemistry, electrical conduction that sends commands to the brain, from the brain, I'm sorry, through the muscles of the arms and of the hands. So every time that you open and close your hand, the brain sends commands to specific muscles to contract or to extend, so you can operate and do things. That's simple, everybody understand. Now let's go back to being spirits and assume that what we call the brain now is the spirit. The spirit is one that commands. The spirit is one that desires, that have plans, to have ideas. And it is indeed the brain that commands this physical body that we use now, right? There gotta be an intermediary between these two. There will be something that allows the connection, the interaction between the thinking being and the instrument that operates, the desire of the thinking being. And this thinking being, now we arrived at the spiritual body that Kardec created a name denominated perispirit. And we arrived, or Kardec arrived, and we arrived through Kardec at the perispirit through observation, through revelation, the Enlightened Spirit have told us, and through an analysis of human anthropology or human history, if you prefer. Because Kardec did not invent, of course, the perispirit, the spiritual body, nor Kardec was the very first one who came out with this idea. Or Kardec was not the very first one who received this revelation. The concept of the spiritual body, or this intermediary between the spirit and the dense physical body, existed for a long, long, long time. Since the time of the Egyptians, there is a book called Transdimensional Physiology that is not translated. There's a small chapter, it's a small, very small chapter in perispirit, but it's by Dr. Dacio Iandoli, and there he puts a bunch of cultures that have, prior to Kardec, came to the idea of the perispirit. That it was in the Egypt, they used to call Ka or Bai. They understood the perispirit in the ancient Greece, was called Akema. Pythagoras gave its own name, Eidolon. The Hindus was very familiar with the perispirit. I mean, it's almost like every kid, the common life in the ancient Hindus would be very familiar with the concept of the what we call the spiritual body, perispirit, and they gave their own name, of course, Kamarupa, Linga Karita. The Hebrews called it Nespheth, and so forth and so on. We're not going to go through all this, right? But the important thing is that just common sense leads us to imagine there is a connection between the brain and the hands and arms. There got to be a connection between the human, the thinking spirit and the acting body. So through that, we arrived at the perispirit. And Kardec concluded and let us know, up to this item 57, that we're going to start reading now, that it is through the perispirit, is using the perispirit or spiritual body, that the spirit can actually act upon matter. And when we say act upon matter, let's go expand this action of the spirits upon matter to act on the physical body that we carries matter. You don't need to go into mediumship yet. How does this thing act? How does spirit make us do things in the physical world? Use this dense physical body that we have. It requires this intermediary. That intermediary is the perispirit or spiritual body. The word again, perispirit, was invented by Kardec. So far, so good. Any questions, problems, any doubts here? I don't want to transform this in a lecture of the perispirit, but we'll talk a little bit about it after you read item 57. Okay? Unless there's any questions. Let's go. So, right, you're going to read for us?
Yes, of course.
Okay, 57.
57. Let us return to the perispirit for now, since it is essential for the explanation we're about to give. We have stated that although the perispirit is fluidic, it is nevertheless comprised of a type of matter that makes tangible apparitions possible, a matter to which we shall also return later. Under the influence of certain mediums, we have seen hands appear that bear all the properties of living hands: warmth, tangibility, the resistance typical of a solid object, and the ability to hold on to onlookers, only to suddenly vanish like a shadow. The intelligent action of such hands, which obviously obey a will in performing certain movements, even playing tunes on a musical instrument, proves that they are a visible component of an intelligent invisible being. Their tangibility, their warmth, and the sensual impression they produce, even so far as to leave visible marks on the skin, as we have witnessed, to deal painfully slaps, or to delicately caress, prove that they are comprised of some kind of matter. Moreover, their ability to instantaneously disappear shows that this matter is extremely subtle and behaves like certain substances that can alternately pass from the solid to the fluidic state and vice versa.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So we all agree that this spiritual body that for now on gonna call perispirit, since Kardec created that nomenclature, and as spiritism is a science, and science has its own terminology and nomenclatures, we're going to use the term perispirit. Daciel defines the perispirit as consistent organism of the individualized intelligent principle, i.e. spirit, right? If you break down this definition, consistent organism of the individualized intelligent principle. Individualized intelligent principle is the spirit, right? I said consistent, I said it's constant. Make a correction here, it's constant. Organism, a body, and constant, omnipresent, always with, always present, always with the spirit. This is a definition that I like because it's broad, right? It tells us more of the perispirit that we can glance if you just pay attention. When you say constant, it means that the spirit always gonna have it. And it did not classify, as we're studying this spirits book now, categories in the level of more intellectual movement of spirits, who has or who does not have perispirit. This is constant of the spirit is of the spirit, regardless of how inferior or how superior it is. So we're going to assume that all spirits have a perispirit. And of course, that includes incarnate and discarnate. And that includes the most simple to the most perfected. Okay? We're not talking about the qualities of the perispirit, but we assume that you have. Naturally, we would imagine that the qualities would not be the same, right? When I use the word spirit in general, I used to say very often the spirit-perispirit complex. But I have reached the conclusion there is redundancy. I may use from time to time to be very clear, but when you say the word spirit, we will understand that it's a spirit with the perispirit, because they are inseparable, because the spirit always have that instrument to which it can act upon matter. Okay? So when someone says that a seeing medium saw a spirit, in reality, what that seeing medium saw was the perispirit, was that thing that the spirit uses to manifest itself. Okay? And just because very quickly, again, I'm going to make this a lecture or a presentation of the perispirit in its integral form, because that's not the objective of this study today. But I think a few things are important for us to be comfortable with this idea of the perispirit. What would this perispirit be made of? Well, it's made of cosmic fluid, like everything that's matter. It's a modification, right, of the cosmic fluid. It has its characteristic that allow it to function at a different dimension, in the spirit dimension. In the same book, Transdimensional Physiology, Dr. Dassel gives us a very good and interesting hypothesis of these two dimensions, in which it's not his idea. That's one of mathematician physicists, and I forgot their names. I should remember their names. But they created the idea that this hypothesis, that this, what we call the spiritual dimension, or this order dimension, it could be where a dimension where particles operates at velocity much greater than the speed of light, which until very recently was considered being possible. So much so there was no negative square root. That number was not accepted because it would lead to speeds above the velocity of light. So there is a theory that now understands that it is possible that there may exist speeds or particles matter that operates at speeds greater than the speed of light. And when it reaches such a high velocity, we have to pass to another dimension, or whatever realm, or whatever point of existence, because our physical world is up to the speed of light. So that's what created this theory that in our physical world, particles work at that speed of light or lesser. That's the physical world that we live in. And when we speed particles at a higher speed than the light, then you transit to another dimension. Okay, which was called the word negative, because there will be a negative square root. I don't understand much. Horrible with mathematics. That's why I got into medicine, I guess, right? But it makes a lot of sense when you read it. It's a theory. Okay, so be very careful. And what I present here is what the theory that Dr. Dess concluded by doing his studies on those mathematicians, which means it's a very good idea. And this perispirit, and for what I'm saying all this, because this perispirit, we can do to be bivalent, meaning that it has properties that can act at the dimension where the speed is higher than light, and can act at the speeds where it's lesser than light. So it has this perfect ability to interact with very ethereal dense matter in a different realm. Let's call it the physical world, the spiritual world. Okay, and it has the ability to also interact with lower speed particles in the physical world. So it's a bivalent organism. And you would imagine that while incarnate, the part of the perispirit that can interact with slower molecules is the ones that attach more to the physical body, and the ones that attach to the higher speed particles above the speed of light is the part that deals with the things more of the spiritual world, or perhaps more directly connected with the spirit itself. So far, so good. So it's a very ethereal matter, okay? This is what gives shape to the spirit. It gives individuality to the spirit. It has multiple functions. We don't, again, it's a very new science. We don't know that much about the perispirit yet. But you understand one of the functions, besides being the thing that gives shapes and form individuality of the spirit, is the center that store memory and unconscious memory. Maybe this is very important. Unconscious memory. It is what one of the spiritual scientists, forgot his name now, called the biological organizer model, meaning that it's the things that the physical body will model itself upon. When we are at the embryogenic stage, then we're going to form a physical body. That physical body will be modeled in accordance to that perispirit, respecting and obeying the laws of genetics. Okay, not saying that the perispirit can derogate to the laws of genetics. That's not going to happen. But working with the laws of genetics, it will be the perispirit that will mold the the body that will be born in accordance with the needs of that spirit. It's extremely plastic. Can mold itself in different shapes according to the desire of the spirit. Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought we lost you. Is Dr. Hernani Guimarães that?
Hernani Guimarães, thank you.
Yeah. And one other thing here, Kardec talks about apparitions, right? At the time of Kardec, he used that word. Nowadays, we use materialization, much more much more than apparitions. Both are correct words, but at the time of André Luiz, he brought the term materialization, and that's what we use when the part of the perispirit or the full perispirit becomes visible to all individuals that are present. That's what a materialization is. It's not something that a medium only sees, but everyone can see if there is a materialization or an apparition. Okay.
Okay. So the perispirit again, because of it is it retains, it's the center to store the inconscient memory, and it's also where it stores the database, so to say, of the spirit. It can indeed function as the organizer biological model for the next body that spirit is going to use, because that is all that data of the requirements of the needs of that spirit. Okay, it's malleable, extremely important that it's malleable, and in being bivalent, it gives a very important thing. It allows it to interact with more dense matter, as we're going to see now, and that's what João is mentioned about. We're going to get a little bit more in the physical phenomena. And in order to explain any kind of interaction of matter, you have to be convinced of the association of spirit with matter. And in any way that you can accept the idea of spirits being able to associate so grossly with dense matter to the point of lifting up tables, pianos, individuals, human beings levitating, making table turn right and left, left and right, we have to consider that there must be some kind of energy that they can use to make that happen. And here I have a very subtle introduction to physical phenomena, which is a mediumistic phenomenon. Soon Kardec will introduce us to mediums. I am going ahead here. But mediums will be those individuals, mediums of physical phenomena, that are able to donate the required energy that allow spirits, using their perispirits, to perform those physical phenomena. And why do we call it physical? Because it is perceivable through our physical senses. One need not to be a medium to observe a physical phenomenon. We will see with our physical eyes, we will hear with our physical ears, we smell with our physical olfactory senses, and so forth and so on. We will feel the touch, palpation, through our physical neurological senses. Okay, that's what makes it a physical phenomenon. It is produced by the spirit, utilizing some energy provided by individuals who are able to provide those energies that we're gonna call mediums of physical phenomena. But you'll be observed by everyone who has capable physical senses. If you are blind and deaf, probably not going to see and hear, but it's because your physical instrument is defected. Okay, and Kardec in 57 basically tells us that there is such a possibility, and that happens because of that interaction of the spirit with matter using energies donated by special individuals that we're going to call mediums. But the introduction of the physical phenomena, more in detail is coming. So far, so good. Any questions? Any question? The perispirit, and there's a lot of things that I did not cover that perhaps it's necessary for you to truly accept that interaction of the spirit and matter. And all that I'm trying to do here is to prove to everyone that it's possible, not only possible, but happens, and has a reason and has a science behind of it.
I think that the concept of where we incarnate beings have a spiritual body or a perispirit, and this perispirit is not inside, is not outside, it's associated with the physical body. It's also very a somewhat difficult concept to understand, but we need to understand that it's the easiest way for us to understand the connection between the physical body and the spiritual body is by association, not inside, not outside, not above, below, or things like that.
Yeah, and connected through an integrated system, the same way that the brain is connected to the hand and to the feet through an integrated system of biochemical wires, so to say, right? There is those little wires that connect the perispirit to the physical body. Definitely organ by organ. Some say cell by cell. I'm not gonna go that far. Possible, not denied, but I prefer to go to organ by organ. But there is that association, that connection to an integrated means of connection. And then the process of dying is exactly making that disconnection over those tiny wires.
Question.
Mhm.
Maybe this is, there's so much we don't know. Maybe, I don't know if this is known, but is there ever a study where we understand where is that exchange of materials coming from? Like, is it when you're donating any of the material, is it like through the chakras? Is it like, I know that the amygdala has a functioning in mediumship. Do we know anything about it, or how the exchange happens?
The medium who was able to donate those energies, it pours out to the orifices of the body.
Okay.
Mouth, ears, nose. I don't think to the anus, but or to the urethra. But I'm not gonna disregard that possibility as well. But we know that it donates most of the time to the orifices, especially on the face.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't understand the answer to that. Are you saying that there is when one exchanges that energy, it's not just from the energy that is exuded from the medium's body in general? In other words, the perispirit, or call it aura, or whatever that would be being exchanged, but that it's actually coming out of nose, ears, mouth, etc.
Yes. Yes.
The ectoplasm, the
Yeah, I
the
didn't want to go
substance
to the.
used.
I didn't
Oh,
want
the
to go through
ectoplasm,
that.
that's
Yeah,
the
but yes.
solid material. You don't mean that there's an exchange between the spirit and yourself. You mean that it's actually being exuded like that.
The
Seen.
individuals that we call mediums of physical phenomena are individuals that produces a great quantity of this compound, okay, that's called ectoplasm. And it is exuded, it is coming out through the orifices of those mirrors. They pull it out through the mouth, through the nose, through the ears.
And has anybody gathered some and has had it tested or is seen what it's comprised of?
We don't know exactly what it's comprised of. The best theory that we have, again, Dr. Dasser has a very good and eloquent description of it. Also, there's the one that works with the pineal gland, has a very good, agreeable theory with Dr. Dassio is the most likely is that a byproduct of respiration, is a byproduct of the Krebs cycle. You know, during the Krebs cycle, what is the true respiration is when into the mitochondrium, oxygen meets glucose, creates ATP, right? Adenosine triphosphate. And as a byproduct, ectoplasm is produced. So everyone produces it. Every being that produces ATPs, or in the living being that requires ATP to live, we do. ATP is the energy that we use, right? So all this exercise that we do of eating and breathing is to get those two guys together in the mitochondrium. No, oxygen meets glucose, boom, an explosion, produce ATP. Out of that explosion, a byproduct is ectoplasm. Some individuals produce a great quantity of it, enough to be put out through those orifices, and those things are used by spirits to perform physical phenomena. They are able to collect the same kind of ectoplasm, as the same as human, but for other things as well, living things that produces ATP, of course. We have in the André Luiz books that they collect material in the forest and anything. But in terms of mediumship, mediums of physical phenomena, individuals are able to produce a great quantity of it, enough to donate, and the spirits can utilize that substance to perform physical phenomena. I don't know if anybody has tasted. It has been photographed. There is pictures of it in museums that use those things.
I'm going to share a picture here, so if
It
anyone is
it has a whitish appearance for those who are able to see it. Kind of foggy, smoky kind of.
can you guys see the picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see like vapor, whitish vapor coming out of the orifices of this particular medium.
And again, this has nothing to do with spiritism. There is a medium called Mary Marshall, Durian Science, at Mr. T.J. Hamilton's home. So ectoplasm is a well-known word used for a very long time outside spiritism. Also, again, not an invention of spiritism. Okay.
I don't know if anybody has ever tasted. That's a good question.
You see this other one here? Yeah. Okay. Back.
Okay, those are very good questions. I thank you for them.
I think Ebony had a question, but maybe we have answered her question.
I just wanted to ask if the perispirit is electromagnetic in nature, and whether, if it is, whether that is the mechanism allows us to interact with each other as mediums.
I don't know if it's electromagnetic. I don't know if anybody has an answer for that yet. I would say that the part of the perispirit that associates greatly with dense matter, i.e. physical body, might have electromagnetic quality to it. But to say the whole perispirit is electromagnetic, I don't know.
Okay, I asked that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that I asked that question based on a response that we got from, I think it was last week or the week before, where the question was asked, what animates the perispirit? And we were told thought. And we know that thought is in fact electromagnetic matter.
We know that thought is electromagnetic.
Electromagnetic matter?
We know it's matter. I personally don't know if it's electromagnetic. I know it's matter, but I'm not going to say that it's electromagnetic because I really don't know.
Okay. In the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel confirmed that it is.
Okay, so then it is. I trust Emmanuel.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any more questions? And again, whatever I don't know, I'll clearly say that I don't know. And I have no problem with that. I think that we borrow words from our science to make a correlation, analogy with things that make sense to us. So we use words like magnetic, magnetism, dense. So all words that we borrow for our science, so you can make analogies, so you can have a better comprehension of things, okay? If Emmanuel labels calls it electromagnetic, I totally trust Emmanuel, and I'll accept the idea that thought is electromagnetic energy. Being very conservative, reserved to say that perhaps we are using terminologies that we can make some correlation because you don't have any other means to express. Okay, those are really good questions. Any more questions? Otherwise, let's go to 58.
Okay. 58. The inmost nature of the spirit per se, that is, of the thinking being, is entirely unknown to us. It only reveals itself through its actions, and these actions can only impress our senses by means of an intermediate type of matter. Consequently, the spirit needs matter in order to act upon matter. Its direct instrument for doing so is the perispirit, just as an individual's is the body. And as we have just seen, the perispirit itself is indeed comprised of matter. As its intermediate agent, it has a universal fluid, which is a kind of vehicle upon which it acts, as we ourselves act upon the air in order to produce certain effects through dilation, compression, propulsion, or vibration. Regarded in this way, the fact that the spirit can act upon matter is easy to accept. One may thereby understand that all effects resulting from such action belong to the order of natural events and have nothing miraculous about them. They only appear supernatural because the cause behind them is unknown. However, once the cause is known, they cease to be miraculous, for their cause can be found entirely in the semi-material properties of the spirit, the perispirit. This is all to be treated as a new order of things, which a new law has come to explain, and at which, before long, no one will be amazed, just as no one nowadays is astonished by long-distance communication, which takes only a few minutes by using electricity.
Well, my taking to this whole 58 is very simple. Nowadays, with the understanding and development of our sciences, it's very hard to use the word impossible. My son says something that I find interesting, says that today, the answer is not if we can, is if we should. Come to a point that we can do so much stuff over there. They understand so much stuff. The question, should we do what we are able to at this point, right? It's very hard to be amazed by things today. But amazed in the sense of putting things in the realm of miraculous, of supernatural, of those things that Spiritism combat, does not believe in it at all. And Spiritism only came to us when science had evolved to the point that we are able to understand concepts a lot more abstract. And the things that at one point seems to be supernatural, seems to be in the realm of the miraculous, was called so because they were not understood. Again, when the bad guy fill up a jar with distilled beverage, set it on fire, the Indians thought that he was a miracle man, that he could set the water on fire. They did not understand the concept of distilled or alcohol. The liquids can be set on fire. But no one today would be fooled by this trick. No one would be amazed of seeing a liquid turn into fire. Because now we understand. So all this talk now here of physical phenomena, we already came to it, would be in the order of supernatural, of miraculous, when was misunderstood. We didn't know of its nature. Now that you know of its nature, it ceases to be an amazement and becomes a common thing, or if not common, understandable and plausible thing. And Kardec says here that in future, no one will be amazed. I think today, unfortunately, there are some who will still be amazed and some who will absolutely deny accepting it, even if they witness with their own eyes. Let's read 59, because just a complement of this here, and then we can open to questions.
Okay, 59. One may perhaps ask how a spirit, with the aid of such subtle matter, is able to act upon heavy and compact objects, to lift tables, etc. It would certainly not take a scientist to raise such an objection because, without even considering the unknown properties that this new agent must possess, haven't we seen similar examples with our own eyes? Has an industry discovered a most powerful motive forces Get him over.
In the most rarefied gases and the most imponderable fluids, when we
See air topple buildings, steam pull enormous objects, gasified blasting power, blow stones into the air, electricity split trees and perforate walls. Is there anything so strange in accepting the fact that the spirit, by employing its perispirit, can lift a table, especially when it is understood that this perispirit can make itself visible, tangible, and behave like a solid object?
Okay. So the physical phenomenon always existed, right? The physical phenomena existed since the prehistory because it's a natural phenomenon. It's an attribute of nature. It was considered miraculous, supernatural, for lack of understanding. And you can see the patience of Jesus Christ, waiting patiently to send his promised consoler until our intellect, our science, had evolved enough for us to be able to grasp the idea of more abstract ideas that science would demonstrate and build structures that are able to operate things of incredible force with invisible, non-articulated things. See, the biggest, the historian says that the biggest attribute of the Industrial Revolution was walk away from articulation. Use the circular movement first, which was somewhat abstract, and then the ability to use basically invisible forces, i.e. the steam. Right? To imagine pre-industrial revolution that you could use water to make things move, like a locomotive, they would call you crazy. And if you bring that idea pre-industrial revolution, they would call it miraculous, right? But now with the understanding of those invisible powers, steam, compressed air, if you just compress air enough, it can destroy buildings, right? Electricity. Now we are able to understand more abstract concepts and to understand there is powers over there that does not require any kind of articulation. This is a revolution, so-called industrial revolution. With that, it allows Christ, Jesus Christ, to send the consoler for those who has eyes to see and ears to hear, of course. And therefore, it initiates, as we're going to start now in this next chapter, the doctrine using an invitation, a caller, that is called physical manifestation and the turning tables. Just the next chapter that we're going to study now. I'm not going to go through the history of spiritualism. I'm not going to go back to things starting in New York and Hicksville and Fox Sisters. Don't care. We're going to start here following the book, Kardec. Okay? With the physical manifestations and the turning tables. I put this on my own here. That is the time when we had reached this industrial revolution and understand of powers that are not visible, that are not articulated, and that allows Jesus Christ to send the consoler to us. But he needs to have something to call our attention to it. And the thing was the physical phenomena and the turning tables. And we start chapter 2 with that. Any questions, any comments? 58, 59, and 57, by that matter.
I have a question, or rather, I'm requesting clarification. So
A little louder, please, if you can.
yeah, the spirit itself can only manifest in this dimension through the perispirit. It cannot manifest itself per se. It can only use the perispirit to manifest, but per se cannot actually be present.
Well, it's present, but it cannot manifest itself.
No, no,
Just-
it's present in the through a manifestation of a second entity, but not by itself.
What do you mean? I don't, you lost me.
Okay, so we need the perispirit to have. We need the perispirit to have spirit manifestations. If we did not, if we were not to have the perispirit, the spirit itself cannot manifest. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
okay. You have a brain, right?
Uh-huh.
You brain things and desire things. Can you get up, walk to the kitchen now and get a glass of water without arms and legs?
Got it. The brain itself cannot. Yeah, okay. It's the body itself. So yeah, the perispirit is like the body of the perispirit is like the body of the spirit.
And not only in the physical, but also in the spiritual plane.
Yeah, yes, in both,
Okay.
yeah. That's clear now. Very good. Thank you. I just wanted to make that distinction. So
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're asking. Thank you.
because sometimes it gets confused, perispirit. So it's good to delineate that kind of demarcation. Thank you.
Yes,
I-
it's absolutely essential that you have those questions, not only for you, for everyone to be comfortable with this idea.
You know.
As you said, I mean, you kind of know, but not still very comfortable. So ask questions to be comfortable with this.
Like they said, no question is a dummy question.
Absolutely.
and you know, I think we don't have, but with the information we have at the moment, it is exactly that. So, for instance, if you're going to ask how the perfect or perfected spirits communicate with God, do they need the perispirit? We don't know. We don't have the answer for that.
Okay.
How the perfected spirits communicate with each other? Do they need a perispirit to do it? We don't have the answer to that. We, you know, the what we have today is that at our level of understanding, we need a perispirit for everything. For the spirit to manifestate, we need a perispirit. Without it, there is no possibility of manifesting as of today with our knowledge. Is it possible, like Elmo just said, right? Is it possible that there is something else? I'm sure there is something else, but I don't think we even probably don't have words to explain or the knowledge to understand.
We don't have the language. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So the idea of introduction of the promised consoler, what we call spirituals, through physical manifestation, turning table makes any sense, what I just said? If yes, you can start with item 60.
Okay. Physical manifestations and turning tables, 60. Physical manifestations are those that result in effects that are perceptible to the senses, such as noises and the movement and displacement of solid objects. Some are spontaneous, that is, independent of any human will, while others can be artificially induced To start with, we will only consider the latter. The simplest effect, one of the first to be observed, is a circular movement imparted to a table. This effect may be produced by using any other object as well, but since a table is the one that is used most often because it is the most convenient, the name table turning has been the prevailing designation of this type of phenomenon. When we stated that this effect was one of the first to be observed, we were referring to modern times because all kinds of such manifestations have certainly been known about since antiquity. It could not have been otherwise, since they are effects of nature. They would have had to have been produced in all ages. Tertullian made clear reference to turning and talking tables. For some time, this phenomenon was a curious entertainment at various saloons, and later went out of fashion and was replaced by other distractions, because it really did only amount to a distraction. There were two reasons for abandoning the turning tables. For the frivolous, it was fashion, which rarely allows for the enjoyment of the same entertainment for 2 winters. However, this particular variety actually provided for 3 or 4. For earnest individuals and observers, the reason was more serious, however. They abandoned the turning tables in order to occupy themselves with the much more important consequences that resulted from them. They left behind the first stages of using the alphabet in order to enter the science, hence the whole secret for this apparent abandonment, about which the scoffers have made such noise. Whatever the case may be, the turning tables will always represent the starting point for the Spiritist doctrine, and that is why we must give them a much more in-depth treatment by presenting spirit phenomena in their simplest expression. Studying what causes them will become easier, and once a theory is established, it will give us the key to more complex effects.
Thank you. So how we would define physical manifestations? Physical manifestations are phenomena that can be observed by our physical senses. I know I'm repeating myself. That's important. Physical manifestations, when they happen, everyone in the area where it's happening will be able to observe with our physical senses. Apparitions, everybody will see it. Noises, everybody will hear it. Smell, everybody will smell it. Okay, not limited to a group of individuals that we are going to eventually call them mediums. And if you see, I'm trying to follow the book and introduce things as Kardec introduced things. As I said, those physical manifestations, they start to happen when humans start to exist. It's a natural thing. And there is descriptions of this event happenings in history. Kardec used Tertullian over here as an example. In Spiritism, we kind of believe, understand that the 10 Commandments written in stone was a great physical phenomenon. Okay, take it as you like. Okay, I'm not going to discuss that. But apparently Moses went up to a mountain, come back with things written on the stone without having any tools to do so. Right? The Spirits of Truth, the group of spirits who were in charge to bring to us the doctrine of Spiritism, need a way to call our attention say, hey, you guys are ready. We have reached a level of in your at least intellectual development, and I like to believe a minimum of moral development as well, that allows us to bring to you now the promised consoler. But how are we gonna do that? We're gonna have to call your attention first. And we're gonna use the physical phenomenon, because this way everyone can notice, not going to be limited, open to everyone throughout this globe who is interested. And we're going to start very simple. Things gonna make noise. Noise gonna come from places that are unexpected, or there is no other explanation for those noises except something come from another dimension, spiritual dimension. And then tables will start to turn right and left, levitate, fall, and do all kinds of little tricks. And after doing an extensive evaluation and research, eliminate any possibility of being anything else, rule out all the tricks, rule out every other possibility, then the only one left is a spiritual cause. Then we will conclude that this physical manifestation is being produced by spirits, because you already reached the conclusion of spirits as I started today talking about it. So in the 1850s, the early 1850s, Paris was inundated by seances. The analogy that I always make is like a disco in New York in the 70s and 80s. Every block there was a discotheque. It was an amusement. It was a place that you go for fun and do whatever you did there. It eventually disappeared. You don't see a discotheque in New York City anymore. So the scientists came in, the tables were turning, they are answering intelligent questions, most of them vulgar, because people are more entertained, seek entertainment than anything else. And then they disappeared. And the question is, why did they disappear? What happened to the people, to the interest of people? Well, there was two kinds of people who they were going to those seances to watch the tables, do the little tricks, and answer silly questions. There are those who are seeking entertainment, and as Kardec puts over here, barely we are interested in watch things happen again for more than one winter, right? I've seen that, done that, I'm done with this, I need something else to entertain myself now. So you go to the seances and we see the table turning once, twice, 3 times, answer silly questions 2, 3, 4 times, then you're tired of it. I seen it, I don't need to go there again. Right? And there is another group. The group that seek to understand how that thing would happen, what was causing it, what was intelligence force behind providing intelligent answers to those questions, knowing certainly that a table does not have intelligence. Understanding that a table cannot move by itself, and had a more scientific approach to it. Those continue, and those were the incarnate that help bring in the doctrine of spiritual to us. So in reality, it never truly disappeared. the, oh my God, that puts over here. They left behind the first stage of using the alphabet in order to enter the science, since the whole secret for this apparent abandonment, about which the scoffers have made such a noise. Those who are seeking entertainment, yeah, they found something else to have fun with. Those who are serious about it, those who have a scientific mind, those who could see beyond the entertainment, continue to study, become part of the formation of this doctrine, or become students of this common doctrine. And the method of use was the turning tables. So the turning tables, in reality, it has a historical value. That was the choice that the Spirit of Truth made to use to introduce us to this new doctrine. Was easy, was simple, was entertaining for those who seek entertainment, and caught the curiosity, the attention of those who were able to go one step above and use their intellectual, scientific curiosity beyond pure entertainment. And there we begin the whole formation of this doctrine. So the turning table has and deserves special attention for its historical value. Questions, comment?
We could wonder why, why it started in the US and why it disseminated in France. And we have to understand that France, in the middle of the 19th century, was let's say, the center of the world, in a sense. All the ideas, all the new fashions, all the new things would come from France. The turning tables were the first thing that came out of the US to Europe, not the other way around. It happened here because the US was more open to this type of phenomena and more had more acceptance to this type of phenomena. So it started here. It could spread here and then move to Europe. Of course, everything organized by the superior spirits. Because the teachings of Spiritism has a direct related to the teachings of Christ, it has to come in the Western Christian civilization. It couldn't have come in places where Christianity was not widespread, right? So this is all historical facts that help us understand why it happened, where it happened. Okay. And but that's a different discussion. It's just an illustration of why things started here in the US and why it went to France, and it was there that it began to be studied and spread out.
Okay, so we can read 61 and close it 61.
Elmo, Carol here.
Yes.
Could I ask a quick question? What
Please.
about, I know this is a bit of an aside, but what about currently folks or people such as Uri Geller who might be using kinetic energy? He might be a medium, I don't know, but would he have, being in the use of ectoplasm to do the work that he does? Any thoughts on that?
Again, I really don't know. I know Uri Geller. I know that he claims to have the magnetic power as of the mesmerism. They just to use his own magnetic energy to perform the tricks that he performs. I don't know if there is any association with ectoplasm. I really don't.
Thank you. Thank you, Elmo.
Sure.
Yeah, Sally. Yeah, you're on mute. Sally, you're on mute.
Thank you. The other question that I have is, you refer to it having to have manifested in the West because of the association with Christ, but is that not perhaps also potentially the other way around, that there's association with Christ because that happened in the West and people were predominantly of Christian origin? What makes one think that there would have been a link? Because those kind of things do happen in places like India. It's just not associated with Christ, but the
No,
same.
I was talking about spiritism. I was not talking about the phenomena or things like that. You know.
But did Spiritism make the link with Christ because it had happened in the West, or was the link with Christ one of the first that was presented?
The link with Christ was brought by the teachings of the spirits when Kardec was asking the questions. Kardec started with the scientific approach of it, right? The gospel according to Spiritism came almost 10 years later after Kardec started studying the phenomena. It's just that all the answers and the guidance from the spirits took him into the direction of Christ and the teachings of Jesus. Okay. So, but I'm talking specifically about spiritualism and spiritism, right?
I did understand that, but I thought that anyway, you've answered the question, so thank you.
Okay.
So the Nilsson can complement on the answer. Jean said very properly that when Kardec took his scientific curiosity to try to understand this physical phenomena and conclude, that we reached the conclusion right now that there are spirits being able to manipulate some kind of energies that is soon going to be introduced, we already been introduced, called ectoplasm, to perform those physical phenomena. Later on, the doctrine took a kind of turn, and the turn now went from the physical to the moral, to the intelligent phenomena. And it was at that time that was revealed to him, and therefore to us, that all that movement of the physical phenomenon thing was to get us to the point that we can go from the physical phenomena to intelligent phenomena and grasp the true objective of the doctrine, which is our moral upgrade using the teachings of Jesus. And it was revealed to us that the spiritism is the consoler that Jesus have promised to send when we are ready for it. But that's so, in other words, it was by revelation of the spirits that you only understood much later on, after past that phase of being concerned with the physical phenomena and start being concerned with much greater values.
Okay.
It's 12:24. I'm gonna leave 61 for next month then, because then we're gonna be introduced to another thing called mediums. Mediums will be introduced tonight to 61, but I think we deserve more time to talk about it. So 61 for next month, okay? Any questions? Up to 60, please.
Next Sunday, it's the last Sunday of the month, so we will have our Q&A session. Please bring your questions. We'll be trying to answer the questions, and it can be related to mediumship, to anything that you have doubts about. I think that what we had today, a lot of good questions, good discussions, is what we aim for on our study groups. Okay. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Elmo, for hosting, and thank you, John. Also, Sarita, thank you for reading today. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for the opportunity to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Medium book, the chapter 1, which we are studying the action of spirits upon matter and manifestations. Many prominent and past cultures believed in the existence of the perispirit, being the link between the body and spirit. The perispirit stores the memory and data. It will mold a body and organizes what the spirit needs for an incarnation. The perispirit is associated with a body, connected organ by organ. The perispirit is comprised of semi-material properties. Mediums of physical phenomenon can produce and exude ectoplasm to create apparitions known today as materializations, which can be seen by all who might be present. Again, we give thanks to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, for guiding and inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, the counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all who are participating. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected by day and by night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we remind ourselves to go forth now as beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and of charity, which is love in action. So be it.